call the meeting to order. I think we just have one item on tonight's agenda, the live and free annual report. And Chief, you want to kick it off for us?
Sure. Thank you, Council President Corman, members of council. This evening we're going to give a presentation on the Live and Free program. This is a program that is between the cities of Renton, Kent, Auburn, and Federal Way, help fund community outreach workers. And this funding is also supported by a match from Coach Carroll's A Better Seattle Foundation. So with us this evening is Director Jovi Katina, and I'll introduce her, and she can introduce some of the outreach workers that are here this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Hi, good evening. Thanks for having us. My name is Jovi Katina. I'm with the YMCA's Live and Free program. I'm our program director, as the chief said. This is my colleague, David Lujano. He is a street outreach supervisor for our South King County region. And then several of our outreach workers are here tonight, and it would be great for them to introduce themselves as well.
I'm Brittany Lonnie, street outreach in the city of Tukwila.
Good evening, I'm Vicente Ramirez, street outreach in South King.
So in addition to these three folks who are sitting here tonight, we also have an outreach worker who's based here in Renton. Tonight he is actually down in Kent working with our airbrush program.
Okay, well, I want to say welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here. This is always a pleasure for us to come and share our work with you and also hear any questions that you might have about our work, because it's really important to us that we have a dialogue. So the very first thing that I actually would love to do is we have a video in our annual report, which is what we're here tonight to talk about. And we send it to you in electronic form, or we will, but I imagine y'all are really busy and probably didn't have a chance to click through our links, so I thought maybe we'd show you a 5-minute video of two of our outreach workers speaking at We Day last year. What I love about this video is it's Brandon and Mark, who are two of our outreach workers in the city of Seattle, talking about what we do and how we take our own personal stories and use them to guide young people who are having a hard time through a process of change, because everyone on our team has faced a lot of the barriers that our kids are facing and has overcome those barriers. So if that's okay with you.
Definitely.
Great, we'd love to show you the video. It's the Internet Explorer one. You want me to do? Yeah. That one. And then make it big. No. Yeah, you can do that one too. And then the one at the bottom. Yeah. Yep. And then play.
Thank you. We are so honored to be here today. We'll let everybody get to their seats real fast. Everybody having fun? Hey, let me hear it. We Day, We Day, We Day. Thank you. We are so honored to be here today. And being from Seattle, Brandon and I are truly inspired by each and every one of you. I got a question. Do you know somebody in your life that has struggled before? Yes? Or you struggled yourself in life? Okay? Do you know somebody who's overcome their struggle and really made a change? Raise your hand, Bob, raise your hands. Okay? What does it take to make that change? I mean, what does it really take to make that change? Well, that's what Brandon and I do every day. We support young people who are trying to find the answer to that question. What does it take to change? And that can be a hard answer to find. But through our own ups and downs in life, Brandon and I, we know about struggle, but we also know about change, right, B?
Right. I got a question. How many of you have ever felt alone?
Right.
Well, as a young person, I felt alone. I felt like I didn't fit in. I was unsure of myself, and I was unsure of my future. That made me angry. So what did I do? I acted out. I didn't listen to nobody. I felt like if all I got is me, then I can care less what anybody had to say.
Right.
I used my leadership in the wrong way. I feel like I influenced my friends to make decisions I don't think they would have made if I wasn't there. But really, I was scared. I didn't know how to use my voice. I didn't know that there were people in my community that I could look for support. And really, I felt alone.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way, B. Growing up as a young person, I seen the world as kind of this lonely place. Lonely because I was an only child growing up in the household with just my grandparents. I also seen the world as this hard place. Hard because I didn't have my parents there to support me through just those hard days in school, you know? Or through those tough days when I was fighting with my friends, or just through everyday life struggles. I also viewed the world as this place full of people who had quit on me. So what do you think I did? I also quit on me. And because I quit on me, I found myself down this dark, bumpy road. But even on that dark, bumpy road, there was always this voice that was inside me that was saying, Mark, but I still care about you. But I still love you. And I still want to see you succeed in life. So you know what I did? I became my own motivation for change.
When I was in high school, I started to meet people that tried to motivate me to change, who inspired me to use my leadership in the right way, who tried to show me that I wasn't alone, but I wasn't ready. It's crazy because at 24, I made the same mistakes I made when I was 14. And to be honest with you guys, the easy road is really not that easy. It's actually harder. But through all my mistakes, it taught me things. I learned that I was strong and that no matter what life threw at me, I could overcome that.
Yeah.
And that's what me and Mark do. We work with young people that are going through things, and we help them deal with them by the way we deal with our experience in life. But I want to let you guys know one thing, that no matter what you're going through in life, look around. You're not alone. But in order to overcome anything in life, you got to first believe in yourself. And don't look at hard things in life as challenges, but look at them as a chance to learn a lesson that teaches you things and make you stronger.
Right, B. I guess the biggest lesson I learned was no matter who was there, who wasn't there, who cared, who didn't care, I had to care about me the most. I had to be there for me every time I needed me. I had to push myself through those hard times in life. And I had to go out and find the assistance that I needed to make it through the everyday struggles in life. So, our message to you today is no matter if you have all the support in the world, or if you don't have any, you have to be there for you. Yes. You always have to love you. And you always have to do the best that you can possibly do in everything that you do, every single day. And never stop until you find the answer to your question. What does it take to change? Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So one of the things that we really love about that video is it captures a lot of the conversations outreach workers have on a one-on-one basis. Granted, this is in front of a room full of kids at Key Arena, so it's a little bit of a different venue, but it's really difficult sometimes for us to bring the work that we do to life for folks because so much of it is relational and so much of it is happening between an outreach worker and a young person who, you know, we find through street outreach, and then we support and coach and mentor and advocate for that young person to really fulfill the goals that they've set for themselves. So with that, that this video really captures those kinds of conversations that we are having every day with young people about what they want to do and how hard it might be, but how we might support them in getting there because we've been there too. So we have shared with you our annual report. It breaks down for you how many young people we worked with over the course of the year in 2015. We expect that in 2016 we'll see about the same number of young people. Like the chief said, we work in partnership with the cities of Kent, Tukwila, Renton, and Auburn. So we have outreach workers throughout South King County who are locating young people who are impacted by gangs violence in the juvenile justice system, and then connecting them to needed services and supports based on what the goals are that they set for themselves. The best outcomes that we can possibly have are that young people re-engage with their goals and don't need us anymore. That can take a short period of time, but more than a short period of time, it can take often a couple years. So we don't actually have a time frame in which we have to exit young people, and so sustained and ongoing support from the cities of Kent and Renton and Tukwila and Auburn has really made it so that we can carry young people over year to year if we need to, if they haven't yet gotten where they need to be, but they still need that support. And so last year we exited 180 some young people, which meant that they were connected to services, re-engaged with their education, getting jobs, whatever it was that they had identified for themselves. But that number represents young people who had maybe worked with an outreach worker for a long period of time. So that's one of the things I'm proudest of, is that our program has been around for as long as it has and sustains so that we can carry young people year to year if we need to, and if they need us to. Another thing that's really great is that we see young people face to face. It's the highest value of our relational time, is going out to their schools and their homes and being where young people are. That's how we do our work. So outreach workers are field-based. We have an office in the south end of Seattle, but outreach workers are always out and about in the field. With that, I think David also wanted to chime in and talk a little bit about a pretty local story about a kid that we worked with here in Renton.
Great.
Yeah. So
Great, thanks.
So I'm David, and so we had these youth. They came about 2 years ago to our program, and here's a kid that had so little support at home. He found himself in court, and the first time that we received his name through the referrals, then we weren't unable to locate him. We looked for him all through Renton and Tukwila, and then I think about almost a year later, he came through again. So we knew that he had to be somewhere else. So we ended up going to Auburn, and we ended up connecting with him. We thought he was living in Auburn, but he was actually living here in Renton. But here's a guy that was gang affiliated. He didn't see anything else for himself, and at that time he was dealing with a lot of court cases. And so once we connect with him and we start building up a relationship with him, we're trying to explain there's more options. You know, we use a lot of the times our personal stories, kind of like to connect and build up that strong relationship and to gain the trust. So eventually this kid kind of trusted us to at least give him support in the court system, to where we just go. He thought we were going to be working with the prosecutor, we were going to be working with the attorneys and whatnot. But we're like, no, we're here just for you. Long story short, you know, he saw the support that we were giving him, so he wasn't going to school, he was still out and about, and he really got into drugs. He started using meth heavily, and so was, again, nowhere to be found. But through other street outreach workers through the city, we're able to locate him back again. And so we knew that education was going to be the answer for him right now. Maybe not even a job, because his mind was somewhere else. And so what we're trying to do, we're trying to connect him with, treatment. And so we got connected with Consejo, and we had a counselor from Consejo, and then so we introduced them together. So he started going to that. One, because we introduced them to him. Second, because then through probation he was required to go. But then again, we just been there trying to give him support. As the time goes by, we offer him an opportunity to participate at this airbrush program, that we were having in Kent, that we still have. And so he was open for that. So now we had him at least going to treat outpatient, and then a little bit of program, and now the idea of going back to school became to be real. And so as he was in the program, the Airbrush program, we were able to introduce him to other adults and street outreach workers that were actually there to help him, including the probation officer. She was really down to help him out. Eventually, he was finishing his treatment with Consejo, and then eventually he was finishing with probation. Treatment with Consejo, finishing probation, and then he was about to finish the program. And then once he finished the program, he kind of like went out again for about two or 3 weeks. We're able to locate him again, and we were able to bring him back to the goals, to the mission. And so eventually, he got back on track. And right now he's still not using because he's still part of Consejo. He goes weekly to go see the same counselor we plug him in with. He done finished the program, moved on to a full-time job right now as it is in construction. And right now he's taking classes at Kent Learning Center, because he decided to leave, Renton, because Renton was not a good place for him. We were able to locate him somewhere else. So, this took, maybe a process of about 1.5 years. And I kind of go back to Joby's point. A lot of the times it doesn't take a month or two. It takes, longer than that. But one of the things that we do really well is stay connected and be consistent with the kids, because they get to learn that we're just not there for a paycheck or for anything else than to help them to be better. And in this case, he was able to realize that. And just like maybe 2 weeks ago, we gave him a gift card for, just doing the right thing. He was so blessed that he saw that now there's other benefits coming for doing right. Right now he has a full-time job. He don't want to leave the job. He wants to continue going to Consejo. He's off probation. He's getting older too as well, so he sees a different future for himself. So that's the type of work that we actually provide for
Very nice. Oh, thanks. I know Councilmember Perez has a question.
Sure. I really want to say thank you to David, because I know personally all the amazing job that he does, and I wanted to share a story that I know that Officer John Aguay always, and I always have a hard time pronouncing his last name, but always looking for the Hispanic population here in Renton. He asked him to help us with a group of teenagers, Hispanic teenagers here in downtown Renton, and David is fully bilingual, and he knew that some of these teenagers were gathering around downtown Renton in the Transit Center, and he asked him to help us with them, to communicate with them, and he really went and talked to them and tried to engage with them, and I really highly appreciate that he did that and help us with orienting this group of teenagers that were getting together there. And thank you for your advice and for your counseling and helping the citizens and residents of Renton.
so much.
So, thank you, Councilmember Perez. Really, really appreciate that you recognize our work and have had some experience with what it looks like to partner with David. We are all on the continuum of public safety. It is our highest and best interest that young people in the community are safe and well, alive and free, and it's always a pleasure when our vision for a safe community is shared with law enforcement, and that's a great story where there's a role for outreach, there's a role for law enforcement, and certainly there's a stronger and safer community when we work in some kind of partnership to keep the community safe and peaceful. So thank you so much for acknowledging that. With that, we would love to take any questions you have about the program, hear any thoughts that you have about how we might support your work at the legislative level, what concerns you might have about the community, and how we might support from our ground level work.
Any questions, Council?
I do have one question.
Yeah, Councilmember Bowen.
So earlier you said through a referral. Where do the referrals come from? Where is that from? Schools, from courts?
Thank you.
How are you getting the names of these kids? It seems like.
So when David was telling his story, he referenced a referral, and what he was referencing was a partnership that we have with the King County Juvenile Court. We were funded last year to provide a warrant prevention service where we would be given names of young people who are coming to court, and these were young people who are high risk for warrant because of both their geographic location, so kids who live further away from 12th and Alder are more likely to have a warrant, and also for their race and ethnicity. So it was a program aimed at reducing disproportionate minority confinement. So kids of color who get warrants have a higher rate of getting detained on those warrants than Caucasian youth. So sort of this dual purpose of finding the young people, but also and getting them to court so that they don't get warrants, but then also getting to know outreach workers so that we could also support them in meeting whatever other goals that they might have to interrupt their engagement in the juvenile justice system. So this was a funded project that came through some federal funding that we were really fortunate to have for a couple years. The funding for that project actually ran out, and King County Juvenile Court is realizing some new visions for zero youth detention, and they have some new mandates around how they're doing their work. And so that program isn't continuing. But that said, it laid some groundwork for us partnering with King County Juvenile Court in a way that sustains to this day. So that's to answer your question about the referral that David mentioned. But David, do you want to talk about where we get referrals outside of that?
Yeah, I think, it comes from different places. It comes from school, probation officers, even communities and members of the communities. So our job is also to build up good relationship with the youth, but also with the businesses in the city, schools in the cities, any type of resources that we can get for the purpose of helping the youth. And sometimes, people identify, youth that are being out and about, and so they'll let us know, or like even the schools, as an example, they've seen someone that is already acting up or dressing some type of way, or they done learned something, and then we get a referral, we get a name, we go and check up with them, we sit down with them, we're doing an assessment without really pulling out a whole lot of paperwork, more like a chat, just to assess where he's at, and we determine it from there whether or not it fits for our program. But it comes from different ways.
Thank you.
Good.
I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Wuchie?
I realize that a lot of these young people are from single-family homes or, broken homes. What services do you offer to the parents when you need to get involved in a family? And if you are involved with the family, do you have services to offer the younger siblings who might be coming up behind the children that you're serving?
It's a really great question. So a few things about that. One, we often find that families are struggling, and having a young person who's involved in gangs, violence in the juvenile justice system is an extra burden. So a lot of times, families are really grateful to have an outreach worker who can support their young person in engaging in services so that they can actually handle, working on stabilizing the household. So often, the service that we're providing families is just an outreach worker coming and supporting this kid who's having a hard time. If families have bigger needs that beyond supporting the young person, we always refer out. So we're a YMCA program. Our outreach workers, like David said, cultivate a pretty broad network of services throughout the community, both in the county and in the city, for youth and their families. If a kid is involved in the juvenile justice system and they have a juvenile probation counselor, often that probation counselor will coordinate comprehensive services for the family, including family therapeutic interventions if that's appropriate. And then for younger siblings, typically, again, we'll try and sort of figure out what the best fit is for that family. But as a YMCA program, we're plugged into a lot of other services. But our emphasis really is that one young person that we're coming to serve, and then cultivating the adults around that young person to see this kid as someone who has potential, has goals, can make it, needs support. We'll step in and support the kid. And a lot of times, like I said, that's really often what the family is lacking, is someone who has the time, the patience, the resources, the training, and the skill to really work with a kid who's having a hard time. It's a big drain on a family's resources often.
Thank you.
Mr. Prince?
Thank you, President Corman. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. So I was looking for it here and I didn't see it. What is your breakdown by sex?
The majority of young people that we serve are young men. It's not in this report, which was, we actually discovered that last week. It's about 75-25.
Okay.
our outreach workers are typically engaging young men. We are finding that our young ladies are increasingly on the radar for violent activity and fighting. Their gang involvement looks a little bit different than our young men. So yeah, it tends to be about 75-25.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, any further questions? All right, well, thank you very much for the very interesting report. Any final comments?
I think just to sort of say thank you for your support of our work and your support of young people in the community who are having a hard time. Those are your constituents as well, and I love that we have an opportunity to sort of share our perspective on who these young people are, and I think that your commitment to these young people is shown through your commitment to our program, so I guess I just thank you on their behalf because they're not here tonight. Thank you for your investment in the young people of our community, even those who are having a hard time.
Well, I'd like to say the same to you. Thank you for your investment, and clearly your enthusiasm and care for the youth is very evident, and we thank you for your hard work.
Great. And then there's a few other links in the report. There's 2 other videos, and when you get a chance, click through them. There's a couple of other just videos that show a little bit more about our work.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I really just want to emphasize, thank you very much for your support to the minorities, for the minorities around. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and with that, the Committee of the Whole is adjourned, and we'll just reconvene at 7 o'clock for City Council. Thank you.
Thank
Night.
you.